We really are living in challenging times, aren't we? Just in a matter of days, our lives have been turned upside down. At times like these, it's so easy to focus on oneself. It's so easy to think about the situation of us and our immediate loved ones, and to kind of get on the defensive, kind of get on the back foot. But as Christians, now is the time to be on the front foot. Now is the time to be out there showing God's love to those around us. So when we talk about our neighbours, we don't just mean those living next door to us or in the same street. We mean our neighbours everywhere. And that might be in Sudan, it might be in Nigeria, it might be in China. We need to remember that there are millions of people in the world, millions of people from religious minorities, Christians and others, who daily live in fear, who daily live with the kind of worries that we have. It's normality for them. Do you know 79% of the world's population live in countries with high or very high restrictions on religious freedom? One of the biggest countries which lacks religious freedom, of course, is China, where there are millions of Uyghur Muslims, religious minority Muslims who have been put in re-education camps, treated abysmally, taken away from their families. We need to remember too that Christians in churches all over China have been suffering for many years. In fact, probably the situation for Christians in China, and in fact all religious minorities, is probably the worst that it's been since the Cultural Revolution. Nigeria, one of the countries in the world today where Christians are suffering violence, where they are suffering kidnappings, killings, and their whole daily lives over the last few years have been turned upside down. And you know, I was in Nigeria in a village which had been attacked by Fulani just over a year ago in southern Kaduna. But I travelled up to a village called Asso with my 17-year-old son, and we saw in that village they brought in a young boy. He was 15 years old. He'd had a bullet in his leg for 3 months, and it was so bad he hadn't been able to get any treatment, and it was still totally untreated. They brought in a girl that had a bullet in her arm, and they explained to us as we met with them that they were frightened to go into their fields to farm because the Fulani were there. And so they were beginning to starve because they weren't growing any crops. Additionally, they were being killed by the Fulani. So they were dying, whether it's by starvation or being killed. And you know, as we were leaving that village, my son said to me, "Dad," he said, "it should be compulsory for every British Christian to come to this village." I said, "Why, Seth? Why do you say that?" He said, "Because they're dying of starvation, they're being killed. And yet," he said, "when you prayed with them, I could see the joy in their hearts." And he said, "If you go to our churches, you'll find a very different picture. We find so much to moan and complain about." And that's so true. So at this time, as we have got a lot, I guess, a lot more than normal to worry and complain about, let's just refocus our attention to other parts of the world where our family and other religious minorities are suffering at this time. What can we do? First of all, we can pray. And you can get resources from CSW. We do a weekly prayer email which you can sign up to today. So every week you can have things that you can pray about. Maybe you've got more time on your hands at the moment to pray. Well, this is a great opportunity. Sign up for that prayer email, because prayer really does make a difference. The second thing you can do is protest. And if you go onto our website at csw.org.uk, you'll find situations there where you can write to your Member of Parliament, where you can send letters to presidents or ambassadors protesting about the treatment of your family and in fact other religious minorities. And our protests really can make a difference. You know, recently we put out a press release on Sudan about the situation for a church in that country that had been attacked 4 times in just a few weeks, in December and January of this year. We put out that press release calling on the Sudanese government to take action for those that had not just burnt the church but had said if they carried on worshipping there they would be killed. And we heard just this week that the Sudanese government, the Ministry for Religious Affairs, had actually seen that press release and had immediately taken action and said that they will investigate fully what's happened there. So that's an answer to our protests. So we can pray, we can protest, we can provide. You know, now is a time for many charitable organisations where funding is more difficult to come by. If you feel like you would like to practically support the work we're doing at CSW of being a voice for those unable to speak up for themselves, you can donate, and you can do that online too through our website. But there are other ways of providing. At this time you could sign up and receive Connect and Encourage, which is a resource, an address book, which you can write to people to say that you're praying for them. You can send them a card or you can send some kind of communication to say we know about your situation and we can pray for you, and we are praying for you. And the fourth thing you can do is, the fourth P is to proclaim. Tell other people. You're not going to be meeting with many people physically, but we're going to have lots of opportunities to talk to one another, whether that's online or whether it's on the telephone, and there'll be lots of things we can talk about. I suggest it will be good to speak about those of our family around the world and religious minorities who daily live in turmoil, not just for a few weeks or few months as we are having to do, but that is the normal status quo for them. So tell others so that they can pray, protest and provide too. So I'd like to just finish by saying, at a time when it's easy to be distracted by our own troubles, easily be distracted because our own world has turned upside down, let's not get distracted from those around the world who are suffering because of what they believe. Let's not get inward looking, but let's get outward looking, and let's redouble our efforts to stand up and speak out on behalf of religious minorities around the world. Thank you and God bless you.